So, hi, Mr. Sangle. I'm very pleased to have you today in this conversation to just kickstart this whole community conversation that we are looking at. So, Dr. Shirish Sangle, you are the Professor of Sustainable Business at National Institute of Industrial Engineering, NITIE Mumbai. You are also Dean of Alumni Affairs. And this is one subject that you have tackled in past for a long time. You have been in advisory board of corporates for their sustainability strategy. You have published multiple papers. Now, sustainability has sort of become a buzzword in past few years, and all the corporations, whether with internal decision or whether they are compelled to, they all are sort of part of the bandwagon. Many are doing it because it has sort of become a license to operate. They do not want to be targeted by the eco-activists, or they are essentially doing what everyone else in their peer group is doing. Is this the only way that sustainability has to be practiced, or does it pay to be sustainable? I know it's a blanket question and there should be a more nuanced question to be asked, but I still would want to throw this blanket question at you. Does it pay to be sustainable?
Thank you for having me in your program. I'm really happy to be with you and discussing this very important topic, which is, I personally believe, is the need of the hour. And I always believe that the corporates are the only one who possibly can, lead this change if it has to happen. I mean, if the world has to become sustainable, there is no doubt in my mind that it has to be through under the leadership of the corporate world only it is possible, for a variety of reasons. Now, coming back to your question, does it pay to become green? In my opinion, it's like asking somebody. You can't find a very simplistic answer in yes or no terms when you ask a question like, does it pay to become green? Because it depends upon, I think, variety of factors. Let us say if I ask an innovative company like Google, and let us say somebody copies their product, and if I ask the CEO of Google and say that, would you like to sue this imitator into the court of law? And what do you expect? The answer could be, well, it depends upon variety of things, factors. So what I'm trying to say is that, does it pay to become green? You can't expect an answer in yes or no term. I think a more relevant question would be, when does it pay to become green? Because under different circumstances, I suppose you can find an answer to this thing. Because if you really look at historically the last, I think, 20-25 years of the sustainability movement, you will find answers both yes, does it pay to become green? You'll find a very affirmative answer, yes also. And at the same time, you will also find answers which is affirmatively saying no. So it's a mix of answer. And therefore, I feel that it leads to another question, and that is, when does it pay to become green? So in my opinion, a fair question to ask about sustainability is, under what circumstances sustainability pays? I think that is a more fair question in my opinion.
So under what circumstances sustainability pays, Dr. Sangle?
Right. So, again, the question is like this. If you really look at, if you ask a question, under what circumstances any business strategy pays. Say, for example, if you talk about differentiation. Now, everybody talks about, if you really want your product to be differentiated or your service to be differentiated from the rest of the rival companies, it's not necessarily always it will pay you, and therefore we need to understand that when does it pay to be, a product differentiation strategy? When does it will pay? And I think the answer to this question is that, number one, the condition is that your customer should be willing to pay for the innovation that you're talking about, or for the differentiated feature of the product that you're talking about. If your customer don't value that feature, obviously they are not going to pay for you. That is one thing. Second thing is that you should be credibly able to communicate that you have done some innovation, which your customer should be able to believe that. That's the second part. And third thing is that your rival company should not be able to imitate that, immediately. Otherwise, you will not be able to recover your investment from the market. So I think it is very clear that any strategy, works under certain favorable situation. And I think it is the job of the sustainability managers also to understand that when should they invest into sustainability so that it not only make sense to the environment and social issues, but it also should make sense to the business. Because as long as business is running sustainably, economically sustainably, then only we can ensure about the social sustainability and the environmental sustainability. Otherwise, I don't think it is possible for us to have this discourse about sustainability in a very fair manner. So it has to be, no doubt in my mind, has to be economically sustainable also. Most of the time we talk about either environment wins and the economics loses. I don't think that is the right kind of a that is the right kind of a frame of mind. That trade-off mentality has to go away if we really want to seriously engage with the issue of sustainability. We really have to look forward for win-win kind of a situation. So that both environment and economics, they both should win, or sustainability versus this.
So I think what you said, Dr. Sangle, is so now there are things that you would do, because a lot of things that you talk about maintaining that differentiation so that you have the cost advantage or a differentiation advantage. These are sort of general strategies. And I think that is the beauty, that sustainability shouldn't necessarily be seen as something which is a responsibility of a particular department. In the long term, essentially, it becomes one of your drivers in which you do whatever you do. But when we look at, let's say, from most of the actions that the managers take at this point of time, there will be certain things that you do internally that don't necessarily talk about it. So your efficiency benefits and other things that you do in terms of cost advantage that come about. But there are a lot of things that you do which are essentially for communication externally. So the kind of eco labels, the kind of certifications that you go for. Now, these are primarily to show to the world what you're doing. And this is somewhere where you are essentially just trying to toe the line of whatever the trends are. And you're trying to at least make sure that you're not worse off than your peers are. How do you create advantage in such a situation where everyone pretty much looks the same when we look at them from the sustainability perspective, the communication that comes about? All the companies pretty much look the same kind of reports, the same kind of frameworks, the same kind of metrics that they're throwing about. So how the two reconcile essentially?
So I think first and foremost thing, we need to understand there is a difference between sustainability and EHS initiatives. Now, many times I have seen companies also in the name of sustainability. I think one fine distinction between EHS and sustainability is that EHS is nothing but a compliance issue. That means it is nothing but a cost of doing business. You have to sort of comply with the laws of the land. On the other side, sustainability is something which is voluntary. It is not mandated by law, but maybe it is a market requirement, or maybe it's a market driver kind of thing. Whereas EHS issues are actually a statutory requirement, but they may not be market requirement kind of thing. So I think what we need to understand is that sustainability is more voluntary, and therefore you have to ensure the economic sustainability of all your sustainability projects, which are social and environmental in nature. So that is, I think, first and foremost point. Now, when you say that almost everybody is doing the same kind of a thing, that is precisely because we don't see sustainability as a business issue. We still consider that it is the compliance issue, or it is something to do with environment, or maybe social issues, or something to do with social responsibility. Unless and until we look at it more from a business lens, then only I think we will be able to arrive at strategies which are very unique and specific to my business. What does it mean? It means that I would be able to understand what are the risks to my company, to my firm, to my plant where it is operating. And similarly, it also will offer you some unique opportunities which may not be available to the other companies. So I think we will be able to differentiate from others only if we really look at this issue more from a business lens and not from a generic, the emotional appeal that we have about sustainability. But most of us talk about Mother Earth and those kind of things. So then obviously our response tends to be very generic. But what we need to understand is that sustainability demands you need to evolve a very unique response to a unique challenge that your company is facing. So when I say sustainability at a national level, international level, at a state level, at a city level, I think it is different. But the moment you want to translate that at a firm level, I think you need to develop some sort of an intelligence. I call it as a sustainability intelligence, so that you can actually devise your own strategy, which is which is very specific to your company, and it is not very generic one. So you won't have then every company is ISO 14000 certified, or every company is having a sustainability reporting kind of a thing. So it's no more like that. But even if you have an ISO 14000 certification, for example, ask a question: what kind of a risk you have addressed in your company, or what kind of an opportunity you are looking at? And most of the time, you will find an answer. People don't understand actually. They don't have any answer to this question. They do it because there is a pressure on them, and the pressure is coming from outside. So maybe it is, your parent company is asking, forcing you to do that, or maybe everybody is doing, so therefore you also want to do that kind of a thing. But it is not a real business logic. So what I emphasize is that you have to arrive at a business logic as to why you should invest into sustainability, and therefore you have to have a sustainability strategy for your company, not just sustainability policy, which looks to be very generic, and which looks to be almost similar to every other company's sustainability policy.
I think you have put it very beautifully, and I think these are the questions probably now we want to take back to the forum, right? That are companies able to define for themselves that what exactly is their unique strategy for sustainability, or is it continuation of the mindset of compliance, which is moving from regulatory compliance to all the global standards, searching for those different global standards that have become sort of the norm for the peer group, and basically just try to comply with that? Because sustainability is more than compliance. That's the point. So I think this is something that we probably want the group members to contribute in terms of what their unique perspectives and views are. How do they see that they are contributing to this unique strategy in their corporation, and how are they looking at sustainability as a differentiating factor? Yeah.